longer hair.
With longer hair?
With longer hair. That's why it took me a while to you know what I mean? Nagkaroon ako ng jarring moment doon.
Which means it's been a while since we've actually had Professor Ronnie Holmes back in the studio, giving his mane a longer time to grow. All right, it's really up to the Chief Justice now to decide if he will take the witness stand and allow himself to be cross-examined by the prosecution. The lawyers have said, the defense lawyers have said that he's willing to actually do so. What do you expect Dean Divina, the Chief Justice do? I mean, is he still not above invoking his right against self-incrimination when he faces the cross-examination?
Well, Tony, I expect the Chief Justice to first explain his action.
Why he left?
He has to clarify that he didn't walk out.
Okay.
And he meant no disrespect for the institution. And he'll probably apologize for any misconception or wrong perception that may have been conveyed by that apparent walkout. And I think we will see the Chief Justice fighting up to the end. And this is his last chance to take his case, defend himself to the public and to the Senate. So this is a make or break day for the Chief Justice. So perhaps you can say that most of the senators have made up their minds. But probably some are still undecided. So this is his last chance to convince the undecided to sway in his favor. And even if the verdict, for instance, will be one not favorable to him, there is still the bar of public opinion. So it's important for him also to win public sympathy, even if the judgment may not be in his favor.
And by putting himself on the witness stand, it should show his willingness to answer any and all questions that will be propounded to him. But what if we see a situation where he just says, no, I will not answer that, I invoke my right against self-incrimination? Is that going to look good for him? Or, the defense lawyers will say, well, that's his right.
But there's no point returning to the witness stand if he is not willing to testify and bear all. So I expect the Chief Justice to answer, to respond to all questions by the senators and by the prosecution on cross-examination. It should be a no-holds-barred testimony. That's the only way, or the best way, shall I say, to take his case to the Senate and to the public.
Because as you've seen, Dean Nilo and Professor Ronnie, yung mga taong pumupunta sa Senado, well, usually legislative inquiry yun always invoking the right against self-incrimination. I mean, we wonder whether or not the Chief Justice might take the same tack if he's going to be cornered in a way by questions of the prosecution.
Well, he already admitted that he has dollar accounts. He admitted that he did not disclose these dollar accounts in his SAL-N. So I think he's just taking the position that there is no obligation to disclose. And he is invoking Republic Act 6426. I mean, the battle lines have been drawn. It has become a legal issue.
So in other words, what you're saying, actually, this is what some senator judges brought out was it's his interpretation of the law that is now debatable.
That's right.
Because by saying that he interprets it to be absolutely confidential, you can't fault him for his interpretation.
That's right. And the bigger question is, assuming there was an exclusion, it was in good faith. Does that amount now to an impeachable offense? Is that a culpable violation of the Constitution? Does that amount to betrayal of public trust? So these are very debatable issues.
All right. Professor Ronnie, perhaps, I mean, it's been a while. You've conducted surveys in the past, trust surveys, approval ratings when it also comes to the Chief Justice included. And he had a poor showing in the Pulse Asia surveys, Now, all right, can you explain how this all factors in right now?
Well, on a personal level, the Chief Justice, both approval and trust decline. To the extent that majority are actually either disapproving or distrusting of the Chief Justice. That's an effect largely of the impeachment trial when we conducted the survey in March. At the time, only the prosecution had presented their case. I think we had about 28 days then, or 26 days for that matter. But about 6 out of 10 Filipinos were saying that their decision on whether he is probably guilty or guilty was based largely at the time of the trial. So we've had 12 to 15 days after the trial resumption. We don't know exactly right now where they will place themselves. Pretty soon our survey will show that.
Are you conducting a survey now?
When it comes out, and hopefully the results will come out soon, but I don't know whether it will come out before the Senate makes its decision. But you do have a public who are attentive to the news, and I guess based on the extent of coverage of what happened the other day after the statement of the Chief Justice, I think many Filipinos are quite familiar with what transpired and are now more or less trying to monitor what will happen today, whether a statement will come forward or whether the defense will just simply have a direct examination of the Chief Justice, beginning with an explanation as to why he stood up and excused himself. No?
Yeah. Now,
the last time he appeared.
In your past surveys, was the public actually open to hearing the Chief Justice's side? Because in some polls that were taken, of course, and they were not scientific polls, it was disappointing for some, Tony, that they had said whatever the Chief Justice had to say, they had already made a conclusion. And it frustrates some supporters of the Chief Justice.
Well, what we had really is that if you look at the hardliners, meaning to say those who said that the Chief Justice is definitely guilty or those who say that he is definitely innocent, it's a small proportion of the total population. Okay. That's only less than about 20%. Although the number of those who say that he is definitely guilty is double the number who say that he's innocent. So about 80% saying that he's probably guilty or they're undecided.
Yeah.
Or is
How
probably
big was
innocent.
the undecided then?
Undecided, if I'm not mistaken, was about 43%. Those who said that he was probably guilty was about 33%. But if you take it alongside the response to the questions, when did your opinion, when was your opinion formed? And 6 out of 10 were saying that it was during the course of the trial.
The prosecution pa lang.
The prosecution pa lang. Then there's a high probability that given what has transpired since then, evidence is presented on the part of the defense, the testimony of the Chief Justice, and what will happen today, that will definitely influence public opinion at this point in time.
Now, will the walkout, Dean Divina, matter if you were a litigator right now in a court case and your client walked out? I mean, we've asked some senator judges, they said it wouldn't matter, but does it really not matter?
Well, let's just put it this way. It was something not favorable, not positive for the Chief Justice to have been perceived, to have walked out. No? But what is sad, of course, is if he will be found guilty on the basis of his behavior or conduct last Monday. No? So I think the better sense is that for him to be convicted or acquitted based on the evidence, not based simply on his conduct last Monday.
If you were the Chief Justice, would you have just brought your dollar accounts and made it easier for everyone? Because an unconditional waiver would mean, Tony, that they'd have to call the banks and have an extra day.
Since I have taken the position that the dollar deposits need not be included in the SALN,
since
I should have just disclosed everything. So these are my accounts, these are the amounts. I did not include in the SALN because I believe they are absolutely confidential. Would have been more, I guess, acceptable to many senators and the public.
And name the balances, you mean?
Name the balances, yes, the account balances.
Okay,
well, honestly, do you think that Chief Justice will go that far?
If he will be asked...
if he will be asked, and I asked you, will he invoke his right against self-incrimination?
Well, I do not know how the right against self-incrimination will apply if it's just a question of how much is the balance of your account.
That's not going to be incriminating?
Because he already maintains the view that they are not required to be disclosed under Republic Act 6426. So the amount is immaterial. In fact, the source of funds is also immaterial because he's being charged not for unexplained wealth, but for non-inclusion of the assets and the deposit in the SALN.
But aren't you being extremely legalistic on this? I mean, I presume because you're a lawyer. I mean, as Tony had asked, let's say hypothetically if there was, in the last records that the AMLAC had and they compared, let's put it to at least $780,000 in one PS Bank account allegedly on December 2011. That's 40 million pesos.
Right.
So why won't the amount matter? I mean, yes, they are not taking up ill-gotten wealth.
But I expect the prosecution, of course, to pound on the heart and the spirit of the SALN law, which requires full disclosure. So if you are to be consistent with the spirit of the law, everything has to be disclosed, Philippine currency or foreign currency. On the other hand, the Chief Justice will say, but this is what I'm being charged with.
Okay.
non-inclusion of the assets in my salin, and to my interpretation, they do not include dollars. So it will violate my right against due process if I'll be convicted for an offense not specified.
Yeah, you're thinking like a lawyer.
No, I'm presenting both sides, the pragmatic side and the legal side.
And
Yes,
kapansin-pansin dito na we're just talking about that, hindi na po natin pinapansin yung Article 3 and 7.
No, wala na.
Wala na yun.
Wala na, hindi
lahat
na
na,
napansin.
everything is gonna hinge now on Article 2. All right, we will be back with our guest, Professor Ronnie Holmes and Dean Nilo Divina. Karen and I will have to take a short break. Keep it here on ANC.
Stay with us. This is Chief Justice on Trial, the ANC coverage.